Welcome back to Thinking Big, the podcast where we explore the mindset, strategies, and stories behind extraordinary success. And I'm your host, Sean Osborne, and today I have something really special to share with you. This episode isn't just another personal development or productivity hacks episode. It is about a genuine discovery, something that was literally lost in time until just recently. So last year, I had the incredible opportunity to spend several days with Russell Brunson. He's the founder of ClickFunnels, and also Secrets of Success, which is where I really got to know Russell. But we got to spend some time at Napoleon Hill Foundation's archives in Wise, Virginia. Now, if you don't know who Napoleon Hill is, he is the author of Think and Grow Rich, arguably the most influential personal development book ever written. But what we discovered in those archives wasn't in any of the published books. It wasn't in any course or seminar. It was completely lost until now.
Welcome to the Thinking Big podcast with Sean Osborne, the show helping you think bigger into your life and potential. Sean believes by equipping you with the tools, strategies, and philosophies required to be successful in all aspects of your life, you can achieve anything you believe in. Empowering our own growth makes a deeply positive and lasting impact on our lives, community, and our world. Now, here's Sean.
All right, now before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to say I'm sitting here. It's in the middle of the summertime. I'm shivering. I just did like a 14-minute cold plunge. So if you hear my teeth chattering a little bit, it's because I literally just got out of a cold plunge. So here we go. So let me paint you a picture of where the story begins. So there we were, Russell and I, surrounded by boxes and boxes of Napoleon Hill's personal materials. The Napoleon Hill Foundation is in Wise, Virginia, and it houses everything, and I mean everything, that Hill left behind. Documents, letters, unpublished manuscripts, personal notes. We're talking about material that has been sitting around in these archives for decades. Stuff that researchers and Hill enthusiasts would kill to get their hands on. It was absolutely amazing. And while we were there, Russell was also trying to get publishing rights for a manuscript. Really, it's not really a manuscript. It was more of a system that Russell had purchased for like $30,000 for just one set. Now, this was the system that Napoleon Hill and his business partner, Clement Stone, had developed for their employees and their own team members. This was not for the public. This was for their own people. A personal growth system that they used internally to help everyone level up, become more productive, and achieve success together. And the system was called 1357. And when Russell started walking through the materials, I could see his eyes just light up. He knew that what was in here, he knew that this 1357 was pure gold. And I realized why he was so excited. And here's what we discovered. The 1357 method is brilliantly simple. You set a timer for exactly 13 minutes and 57 seconds. You pick any personal development book, anything that teaches you how to improve your life. It doesn't matter what niche you're in. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Anything that you want to learn about, and you read. But when that timer goes off, you stop reading immediately. Even if you're in the middle of a sentence, even if you're at the most interesting part, you stop. Then you turn to a special journal with prompts that helps you process what you've just read and figures out how you can actually implement it into your life. Now, when Russell first explained this to me, I thought it sounded a little crazy. Stop mid-sentence. That's like pausing a movie at the middle of the climax. But as I read more of Hill's notes, I started to understand the psychology behind it. You see, when you force yourself to stop reading mid-sentence, you create what psychologists call an open loop in your brain. And your brain hates, I'm telling you, it hates unfinished business. So what happens? Your subconscious mind keeps working on that idea all day long. You'll be brushing your teeth and suddenly you have insight about what you're reading. You'll be stuck in traffic, and instead of getting road rage, you'll be thinking about how to implement that concept that you just learned into your life. It's like having a personal development coach living rent-free in your head, working your problems 24/7. It is really that genius of a system, and it's so easy. Now, I've been using this method for, it's about 6 months now, and I have to tell you, it has been a game changer on how I learn stuff. And I decided personally to start with Think and Grow Rich. I've read it many times. I wanted to see how well this system actually worked. And I also thought, boy, that seems fitting to try this method on one of his best books. Now, going back to Napoleon Hill's masterpiece using his own loss method, and here's what I noticed almost immediately. First, I actually started looking forward to reading time. For years, I've been one of those people who bought personal development books with the best intentions, read maybe the first chapter, and then let them collect dust on my shelf. We call them shelf help books, right? And if I liked it, I would just end up buying the Audible. But 13 minutes and 57 seconds, in my mind, that felt manageable. That felt doable. But more importantly, I started retaining and implementing what I was reading for the first time. Before, I'd read entire books and struggle to remember the key points a week later. How many of you done that? You've read a book and it's like, I've read that last week, but I really don't remember much in it. Now, because those journal prompts and because my brain is obsessing over that material all day, I'm actually absorbing and applying these concepts all the time. It is so incredible, this simple little system. My decision making has become more confident. I'm not second guessing myself as much because I'm constantly feeding my mind with wisdom and insights from the greatest thinkers in personal development. And I've noticed my motivation levels are more consistent. My motivation levels, especially for reading, are more consistent. Instead of those peaks and valleys where I'm fired up one day and completely unmotivated the next, I have this steady drive now that comes from my daily growth in this daily reading. Now, here's where this gets really powerful, and it's something that I didn't even expect when I first discovered this method. We've created a daily accountability call where everyone in the 1357 Club, it's a club that was started, gets together and reads. Every morning we jump on a Zoom call and we set our timers for exactly 13 minutes, 57 seconds, and read whatever books we've chosen. Now, again, we're not all reading the same book. Everyone picks their own personal development book or something that they're wanting to learn, really in any niche that they're in. And one person might be reading Atomic Habits. Another person might be, diving into the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And some, like me, might be going in and doing Think and Grow Rich that I did. Or something even like hobby related on how to do something that you're doing for a hobby. But there is something magical about knowing that hundreds of other people are doing the exact same focused reading at the exact same moment. And it creates this energy, this collective community to grow. And it's unlike anything I've ever experienced. And here's something that I've noticed about my own reading since I started doing this. I now actively, and I mean actively, look for the key ideas and principles instead of letting my brain just wander off. Before I'd be reading and my mind would drift off to my to-do list or what I was going to have for lunch or some random thought. But knowing that I have to identify the key principle in my journal afterwards, it keeps me laser focused during those 13 minutes and 57 seconds. Now, I have learned so much more and implemented so much more with this method than I ever did with traditional reading or even listening to audibles. I mean, it is really incredible. And then after we finish our 13-minute and 57-second reading session, we all fill out our journal prompts for 5 minutes. It's just 4 prompts that we go through every day. And then we break into small groups, like 3 to 4 people, and discuss the first 2 prompts together. And since everyone is reading a different book, you get 3 to 5 key ideas from different books each day from this. It is absolutely incredible. And the first prompt is recognize the key principle or idea or technique I recognized is. So that's the prompt. This forces you to identify the most important takeaways from what you've just read. The second prompt is relate. To me, it means, this is where you make it personal. You connect the principle that you just learned to your own life and your own goals and your own challenges. And when you share this insight with 3 or 4 other people who just went through the same process with completely different books, the magic happens. Someone shares a principle from their marketing book that gives you a breakthrough insight for your relationship challenges. Or someone's takeaway from a leadership book might be exactly what you needed to hear for your business situation. Now, I'll be honest, I don't make every single call. Life happens, but I am happy if I can make 3 to 4 of these meetups in a week. Even at that frequency, the accountability and insight I gain are game changing. It's like having multiple brains working on your problem instead of just your own. And everyone's bringing wisdom from different resources, and it is just a magical thing. And the more I've used this method, the more I understood why it is so effective. First, it works with your brain, not against it. We live in a world of constant, dopamine hits from our phones, from our social media, from streaming services. Our attention spans are like a goldfish. They're worse than a goldfish. Trying to read for hours is like trying to bench press 300 pounds when you can barely lift the bar. But 13 minutes and 57 seconds, your brain doesn't panic. My brain doesn't panic and go, oh, crap, right? It doesn't start looking for the nearest TikTok video. It's short enough to be manageable. And I want you to hear this. It is short enough to be manageable, but long enough to absorb meaningful content. That is really the gist of it. Second, the forced stopping creates a psychological tension that makes your brain obsess over the material. It literally, when you stop mid-sentence, I know it sounds so weird, you will literally, your brain, your subconscious will be trying to figure that out the rest of the day. And it's like having a song stuck in your head, except a Baby Shark. It could be a life-changing concept that it's working on. And third, the journal prompts bridge the gap between knowing and doing. Most people read self-help books and think that is interesting, that's nice, but never actually implement anything. How many? Raise your hand if you're driving. If you're driving, don't raise your hand. But raise your hand if you've done that. You've read a book, you think, boy, that would be great to do, but you never actually do it. These simple prompts force you to figure out how to apply what you've just learned. All right, but here is what really excites me about this discovery. This isn't just another productivity hack or a life optimization technique. It is a simple system that was developed by 2 of the most successful people in the personal development space, tested with their own teams and proven to work, and it was almost lost forever. It was never meant to be in the public. I mean, think about it. If Russell hadn't spent that $30,000 on a rare book or all the time that we spent in the archives, if we hadn't stumbled across those materials, this method might have stayed buried indefinitely. And I have to admit, I thought how many other game-changing strategies and systems are sitting in this archive waiting to be discovered. I cannot wait to get to go back there to get. I hope they invite me back there again. It was an absolutely amazing experience, and it makes you realize that sometimes the most powerful solutions aren't the newest, shiniest technique. Sometimes they're the wisdom that's been forgotten, waiting for someone to dust it off and bring it back to light. And I want to be clear about something. I'm not saying that this method is magic. It's not going to transform your life overnight. But what it will do is create a compounding effect. Every day you're feeding your mind with wisdom. Every day you're taking small actions based on what you've learned. Every day you're becoming a slightly better version of yourself. And over time, those small daily improvements add up to massive transformation. And it makes me think, if you've ever read the book Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, that's what it's talking about, these small changes every day and consistently. Now, I am literally living proof of this 1357 method. 6 months ago, I was struggling with my consistency on my personal development, especially my reading. I did not like to do it. I had good intentions, but poor execution. I was consuming content, but I wasn't really growing. I wasn't really using it. I was listening to it, whether audibles or some reading, but I never put stuff into action. And today I have unshakable confidence in my daily growth. I know that no matter what else happens in my day, I've invested in myself and I've implemented something small in myself. I've fed my mind. I've taken action towards becoming the person that I want to be. And it only takes me 13 minutes and 57 seconds a day. Now, I know some of you are thinking that this sounds great, but how do I actually get started? Well, Russell has taken this lost method and turned it into a complete system. And if you're interested, he has the rights to create the journals with all the prompts. He's built a community of people who are using this method together every day. And he's even offering this whole thing as a free trial for you. if you are interested in something like that, if you want to check it out, there's going to be links in the show notes or a link in the show notes to get there. You can get the complete system, test it out for free, and see if it works for you like it worked for me. If not, but honestly, even if you don't get Russell's system, that is fine. I'm not here to try to convince you to do that, but I encourage you to try this basic method. Pick a personal development book and set a timer for 13 minutes and 57 seconds. Read it until it goes off, then stop and think about how you can apply what you just learned. Do it for a week or for an entire book and see what happens. I'm telling you, it will change how you read. And here's what I know for sure. We're all capable of so much more than we're currently achieving. We all have dreams and goals that we've been putting off, telling ourselves that we will get to them someday, but someday never comes unless we make it come. And the 1357 method isn't just about reading more books. It's about becoming the type of person who invests in themselves daily. It's about compounded growth. It's about becoming the best version of yourself one day at a time. And it all starts every day with 13 minutes and 57 seconds. And I know you can do that. Thank you again for listening to the Thinking Big podcast. And if this episode resonates with you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, your biggest breakthroughs might just be 13 minutes and 57 seconds away. And until next time, keep thinking big.